Hey everyone, what's up? Today, let's explore the fascinating universe of SQL, the language that brought order to the chaos of data and transformed the way we interact with information. Let's delve into history, discover how and why SQL emerged, meet the companies that gave the technology a boost, and understand how this language continues to dictate the rules in today's technological world. Tune in, it's going to be an incredible tour of the code and behind the scenes of databases. Let's travel back to the 70s, at a time when the term big data wasn't even fashionable yet. SQL, or Structured Query Language, was designed in IBM laboratories. The idea was simple but brilliant: create a language that would allow structured queries to be made on large datasets. This meant that, for the first time, we could organize and search for information more efficiently. SQL wasn't just a new language, it was the key to unlocking the potential of relational databases. Later, the language was standardized by ANSI and ISO. For those who don't know, ANSI and ISO are regulatory and standards bodies. Around the 80s, this gave rise to Standard SQL, or SQL ANSI. But wait, why does this matter? Imagine having to search for a person's registration number without a database as we know it today. You would have to navigate through folders until you found what you were looking for, not to mention the organization of each company to store this data. The more rules there were, the more difficult it was. And at the time, we didn't have operating systems with a graphical design like we do today with Windows 11. Back then, it was all about navigating DOS-type systems, but that's a topic for another video. Let me know in the comments if you want me to make a video about what technology was like in the past. But back to the subject, that's where SQL comes in, allowing us to ask specific questions and get accurate answers with the data you requested. It doesn't matter if you're dealing with sales data, customer records, or your Spotify playlist, SQL organizes everything beautifully. And that's not all. SQL helps in the creation and management of relational databases, which are those that store relationships between different types of information. If your app or website is successful, chances are SQL is working hard behind the scenes. Now, let's give a shout out to the companies that put SQL on the map. Oracle, the rock star of the database world, created Oracle Database, one of the most widely used systems in the corporate world. Microsoft, with its SQL Server, also did a great job, especially when it comes to integration with other Microsoft tools. Oh, and let's not forget MySQL, PostgreSQL, and SQLite, which are different types of SQL but have their own fan clubs and have won over the open source crowd. Let's understand a little bit about the language. If you're already from the programming world, you've probably seen these acronyms: DQL, DML, DDL, and DCL. The most common ones are DDL and DML. But what are these acronyms and what do they have to do with SQL? We can say that SQL is divided into sublanguages and each one is responsible for a task in the database. DQL, Data Query Language. The data query language is the sublanguage responsible for reading or querying data in a database. In SQL, this corresponds to select. DML, Data Manipulation Language. The data manipulation language is the part responsible for adding, editing, or deleting data from a database. In SQL, this corresponds to insert, update, and delete. DDL, Data Definition Language. The data definition language is the part of the sublanguage responsible for defining how data is structured in a database. In SQL, this corresponds to table manipulation through create table, alter table, and drop table. DCL, Data Control Language. The data control language is the part responsible for administrative tasks of controlling the database itself, mainly granting and revoking database permissions to users. In SQL, this corresponds to the grant, revoke, and deny commands, among others. Enough talk, let's get to work. Check out the basics of SQL. For this, I'm using the PostgreSQL database and the dbeaver tool to manage this database. dbeaver would be like an IDE like VS Code, right? In it, we can execute commands, see tables, their columns, and much more in an easier way. There are several database managers on the market, some dedicated to the database itself. In the case of PostgreSQL, the graphical management tool is pgadmin, but I really like dbeaver, and in it we can manage other databases like Oracle, MySQL, MariaDB, and others. But let's get to what matters. As you can see here, in dbeaver we have the representation of our database. There are two projects, DB Solution and General, but we'll be working with DB Solution. Expanding it, we can see our DB Solution connection and below it our database with the name MyHawk. Expanding it, we have our schemas, and inside a schema we have our tables. For those who don't know, schemas are used to create an organization in our database so that it doesn't get messy and each type of data is in the table inside the most appropriate schema. If you have any questions so far, comment below. Let's start by creating our table. In SQL, tables are like spreadsheets where we store our data. In our case, it will be the common.product table. Common is our schema and product is our table. Take a look at the script. Here we have the create table, which informs our database that we want to create a table. Common informs the schema and product is the name of the table that will be created. Inside the parentheses, we inform the columns that our table will have and the type of each column. Now we run the script and voila! Our table has been created. Let's refresh the schema here and we can see our table that we just created. Time to bring our table to life. Let's insert some data. Take a look at the script. We are inserting a product with the name, product 1, and other information. Remember, this ID is generated automatically. Now, let's see what we have in the table. When we want to see what's in the table, we use the select. Just look. By executing this command, we will see all the data in our table. Cool, right? But what if we want to make an update? Let's take a look at the next step. Time to make some changes. Sometimes we need to update information. In our case, we will change the code and the category. Look here. We are updating the code and category of the product with this specific ID. Let's see how it looks after this change. By performing the step before this one. By executing the select, we can see our change in the table. Done. Now we've seen how to create, insert, and update data in our table. But wait, what if we want to get rid of some information? It's time for delete. Sometimes we need to say goodbye to some data. Let's delete a product from our example. Never forget to inform the where, put a condition to delete the data you need, otherwise your entire table will be deleted. But it's that simple, right? And look, this is just the beginning. You can join data from different tables, sort, filter. The possibilities are endless. How SQL continues to rock the tech world today. It doesn't matter if you're browsing Instagram, shopping online, or using a delivery app, SQL is there, keeping everything in order. And it's not just in big companies, you know? Startups, independent projects, any system that has a database uses SQL. The integration with other technologies, such as artificial intelligence and big data, only strengthens the reign of SQL. It is not just a language of the past, it is an essential piece in the technological puzzle of the present. So, did you enjoy the ride through the world of SQL? I hope you now have a clearer vision of how this language has transformed the way we deal with data. If you liked it, leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more tech content, and comment if you want more videos of this type. We'll see you in the next video. I'm out.